Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Jennifer J, and this is episode 90 of Moving Forward. I am so sorry I missed Monday this week. I'm going to get my timer set. Sorry, that I do that every time. I don't know how I missed Monday. I'd just been busy and it flew by, and I realized today that I never got that done. So we are going to start fresh today. So I hope y'all are forgiving. And what we're going to talk about today is Potter's House, the Potter's House Dallas. But it isn't T.D. Jakes. It's his daughter, Sarah Jakes Roberts. And I was actually in the house for this one. So I was sitting right up front where I love to sit with my friend James. And we were listening to Sarah do a tremendous sermon. It was a Bible study, and in it many times she says it's not supposed to be church tonight, it's supposed to be Bible study, but she would, I don't want to say go off on a tangent, but she would start preaching and it would just go, and then she'd kind of rein it back in and do some Bible study again. So it was just really good. And I've got to say, the title of it is Become a Partner, or Becoming a Partner. And it was from November 11th of 2022. So if you want to look for it, I'll try and link it. I don't know if I'll be able to. Sometimes I've done it before. I just don't know how I've done it. So I need to write down the directions of how to do it, because sometimes I can only link like the page or the whole, YouTube channel. But sometimes it's allowed me to link just the specific video. And I don't know how I've done it before or why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, I've told you this is not a professional channel, so I am trying and I am learning. But anyway, in it she preached or taught both from Judges chapter 7 verses 9 through 18, but also then she jumps back and goes through Judges chapter 6, because just like I've told you guys many times, often when you're reading a passage or studying a passage like Joshua 7, it's good to go back and read the chapter before to orient you to what is going on. So that is what she did. So that was really good. So she started out this whole sermon or Bible study. It was a Wednesday night, so technically it was a Bible study. She was thanking the worship team, but she said, in her house she turns on worship music. And I do that. I listen to worship music in the car or on my app or on my computer all the time. And she was stressing what I already know, and I'm going to share with you if you don't know. It changes the atmosphere. It changes the atmosphere. So you're not worried about the bills. You're not worried about somebody sick, or you're not worried about just really anything, because you're so busy worshiping that you just know God's got it. You just have that peace of God that passes all understanding. You have that joy of your salvation. It really transcends human emotion. I don't know how else to describe it. If you are not listening to worship music, you really should start making a habit of it, because it will change you. It changes your whole outlook. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that. Anyway, so what she was talking about in this is that the sword of the Lord and of Gideon is what she was talking about. But she was talking about who you need to become, because doing is a byproduct of becoming. So you can't just do things. You can have a vision and then you just jump in and start doing things. It's not going to work out. You have to become first and grow into the vision, which was good for me, because coming to Arizona and having this vision of what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm going through all this hard stuff, that I've explained to you in these other videos. So she was talking about how God has to make you and into the person that he wants you to be, so that you can do the things he wants you to do. So the doing comes after. It's a byproduct of who you become. So he's going to undo you, maybe by heartbreak or a medical condition or a financial struggle, or any number of ways that he can break you down to be, I don't want to say break you down, but we have mountaintop experiences when we're so on fire for God and everything is wonderful. And then we have valley experiences where we don't know which way to turn or what to do. And you have to go through those valleys. You can't just always stay on the mountaintop. You have to go through the valleys to get into a deeper relationship with him. No matter where you are on the spectrum of your relationship with Jesus Christ, you need to go through valleys to grow closer to him and for him to change you into the person he ultimately wants you to become, so that you can fulfill your purpose on this earth for him. So she was saying, you might have heartbreak. Some people might have to leave you, but he's making you into who he wants you to be. So she even said you might be in a new city. Yes. You might have no friends. I have friends, but in my new city, I didn't have friends. But you've got an audience. Again, I felt like she was talking right to me. You don't know what's ahead, but the grace of God will make it possible. And she said, you're in that church to become. And you guys, I just got to tell you, honest to goodness, felt like she was talking directly to me. And I'm sure that there was a lot of people there that felt the same way. But man, God had me there for a reason. And he said he gave a vision to Gideon, and he told him that they have the same enemy. God and Gideon have the same enemy. God was telling him he isn't his enemy. So I don't know if you're mad at God about anything, but God's not your enemy. God has plans for you, and they're good plans for a hope and a future for you. So you have the same target, and it's not God. You and God have the same target, and it is the enemy or the devil. So he was saying that in Judges chapter 7, Gideon was hiding in a wine press, and he was threshing wheat in a wine press. And a wine press, I guess, was down low where he could hide. So people were coming after him or looking for him, chasing him. But he had this bit of harvest, and he was threshing his wheat, and he wasn't going to let them get his harvest. And she was using that as a metaphor to say, we have a harvest and what he sent us to do, and we have to protect what he's given us. And then she went back to Judges 6, and she was saying, when they go to God and they say, why is this happening? Or, what's going on? He doesn't tell them what the plan is. God doesn't tell them what the plan is. God tells them where they went wrong. And I'm going to read that to you. It's in Judges 6, and I'm going to start with 7 and go through 12. And it came to pass when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord because of the Midianites, that the Lord sent a prophet unto the children of Israel, which said unto them, Thus says the Lord God of Israel, I brought you up from Egypt and brought you forth out of the house of bondage, and I delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of all that oppressed you, and drove them out from before you, and gave you their land. And I said unto you, I am the Lord your God. Fear not the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell, but you have not obeyed my voice. Period. The end. It does go on in verse 11 to say the angel of the Lord came, to Gideon, and they talked. But for that part of it, he stops. Here's what I told you to do, and you did not obey. Period. So he doesn't tell them what the plan is. He tells them where they got off course. And I just think that was really enlightening to me, because God isn't always going to tell us what his plan is, but if he will tell us where we went wrong. Because have you ever noticed that sometimes you go through the same thing over and over again? Sometimes that lesson is hard fought to be learned. I know I have, and am right now actually going through something that I've been through many times, and it's like, why haven't I learned this lesson? What is it that I'm not getting right? But God shows them where they got off course so that they can correct it. And I think that's such a blessing. And it taught me even to pray for that. God, show me where I've gone wrong so that I don't make the same mistake. You can't do a thing the same way over and over again and expect a different result, right? So if I'm not getting it, if this is a truth or a fruit of the Spirit or whatever that you're wanting me to learn and to get and to grasp, and I don't seem to be getting it, but I seem to be going through this same sort of situation over and over again, show me where I've gone wrong. Show me, put me back on the right path. Show me how to not make the same mistake again. And so I think that's wonderful that he did that. I mean, God's amazing, right? And of course he knows the right thing to do. But that will turn your wounds into wisdom right there. So she said, move forward and understand where you got lost, and then God will accelerate the vision. So before you implement, you have to thresh. So you have to sift through all the stuff, right? You have to get rid of all the stuff that isn't going to help you. And that might be things, or it might be people, or it might be a geographical place. It could be lots of different things, but you have to get rid of the things that are not going to help you get to the place where God's told you to go. So he's making you a warrior and someone into someone that he wants you to be. So just because you gathered it doesn't mean you're supposed to keep it. And that was something too, because, Gideon gathered the harvest. So he gathered all the wheat, right? He's got all the wheat. But when he threshes it, what happens? The holes on the wheat fall off, right? Because those are hard and they need to be removed so that he can have the soft bud that's inside, right? So that part has to go away. So he harvested all of it, but then he threshed out the parts that he didn't need. And so Jesus is telling us that just because we gathered it doesn't mean we're supposed to keep it. So that could be some of the people in your life that you gathered maybe aren't supposed to stay long term. Maybe some of those people need to be let go. Maybe it could be things. It could be things that you've collected, or I'm trying to think of a good example of that. I don't know right off the top of my head. I'm sorry, I didn't have one ready. But it could be any number of things. So if God is talking to you, I don't need to know what it is. You know what it is, about something that you maybe have gathered, and maybe at the time thought you were supposed to gather, and maybe you were, but it might be time to thresh those things out. Let them go. When I moved, I had a lot of things. I had bought things for my new house. I bought new rugs. I bought new furniture. I bought things to decorate my house. And then God moved me, and all I took was what would fit in my car. And I had to let the couch go back to the store. It hadn't actually been delivered yet. I was having it made, but I lost money on it because they kept my deposit. I had to roll up the new rugs and put them in storage. I had to leave things behind. I had to let things go because those things weren't what God had for me. I don't know at what point those will be useful to anyone or why I gathered them, but they were gathered and now they're let go. So I don't know what it is for you, but God wants to partner with you. He wants to partner with you just like he's partnering with me in Phoenix. He wants to partner with you in whatever area he's told you that you're gifted in and that he wants you to work in. First Lady Mackey at Bible study tonight had said, if you're not a patient person, fruit of the Spirit, patience is one of the fruit of the spirits, and fruit of the Spirit. You can find that in Galatians 5:22 and 23, the fruit of the Spirit. Long suffering is patience. And if you're not patient, if that's something you need to work on, you shouldn't help with children's church because that requires patience. She said, if you're not kind, kindness and gentleness are fruit of the Spirit. If that's not you, then you shouldn't be a greeter. She used kindness for that. Gentleness, she said you shouldn't be an usher if you're not gentle. So you need to look at where your strengths are and where God's calling you to use those strengths. Obviously, we want to build up the other strengths too and work on those. One at a time is best. But look at what he's calling you to do. Pray about what he's calling you to do. And then work on becoming who he needs you to be so that you can grow into that promise that he's given you, which is interesting that came up tonight because it was also in my actual Bible study in March at my New Church Pilgrim Rest. So she was talking about that, God might tell you that he made you to become a wife, but he at 5 years old, that's not going to happen. You have to grow. He might tell you that at 5 years old, but you have to grow and become a woman, right, before you're going to become a wife. So you have to grow into who he has you to be. So he has called me to be a missionary. He has called me to perform healings in his name, but I am not ready. I am not who he needs me to be to do that yet. And so, I want to jump right to the doing, but I know that he doesn't have me there yet. I don't know how I know, I know. Everything in here I know. And so I'm becoming who he wants me to be, to do the things he wants me to do. So step by step we get there, right? And one of my acts of obedience is that he's told me to do this YouTube channel. So I'm doing it, unprofessional as it may be. I hope you guys are okay with it because I'm doing the best I can, honestly. So I'm going to stop there because my timer did just go off, and we will, gosh, there's so much good stuff. Declare war on hell. Remember you're on the same team with God, and he will supply all of your needs. You're not crazy. Your vision is anointed. He's going to shake the world. So get ready, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.